Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and today it is my 2023 mock draft for the week using the up-to-date Week 17 draft order. Thanks for coming back for those of you that are returned, and welcome for the first time for you first-timers out there. And just make sure to hit the like and the subscribe on the channel if you haven't done so already. It is the easiest, quickest, and freest way to support me in this channel and help us continue to grow. And of course, like always, leave your comments in the comment section about what you think about the draft picks I had. I got some people that like them, some people that don't. It's hard to please everybody, even people within the same fan base, but I try my best, and I'm going to try again with these two rounds, all 63 picks. So let's get right to it. And as always, guys, we take this 8 by 8, and I'm going to start with the elephant in the room. You know, the first 5 picks, I feel like up until the top 8, the top 7 picks, kind of hard to argue. You know, you might be able to mix and match certain guys around. Maybe Miles Murphy goes 4 and Keely Ringo goes 7, and you kind of mix these things up. But it's Will Levis at number 8. I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start with it. I understand that, and I'm one of those people that thinks that Will Levis is potentially going to end up being a bust. Very overrated. However, within the NFL community as it stands, as it seems, based upon everything that all of us are reading, let's be real, all of us are reading it, all of us are seeing it, we all just happen to disagree with it, is that Will Levis is somehow going to find himself being a top 10 pick probably. That with 3 quarterback needy teams sitting in the top 10, he'll end up going in the top 10. Somebody will trade up for him. Maybe like the New York Jets might try to get ahead of a team like Carolina and make a move with the team like Detroit, who could be looking to move back, maybe get a first-round pick for next year as well in the process. There's a lot of factors that I think are going to go into making Will Levis a quarterback that ends up being drafted this high. Whether we agree with it or not, I'm here trying to make it as realistic as possible based upon what I've been seeing, the way players have been graded, the team needs that are out there. And I just can't see a scenario where through either a team trading up or Carolina sitting at number 8, number 9, number 10, and just drafting him. There's too much value in a team, especially one that's going to have a new coaching staff and a new scheme and game planning and strategy across the board, not attaching a top prospect quarterback. Because I think even people that are super down on Will Levis, I think you could see him still being a first round pick. And I think that because of that, you have to expect that he's going to be overdrafted, perhaps by about 15 spots. You know, it's not like he's like a guard or a tackle or a tight end where it's like if he's the 25th to 30th best player, that's probably the range he'll end up going in. With quarterbacks, it's not like that. If he's the 25th best player, you got to expect him to go maybe number 10. So that's my explanation for that. So please don't kill me in the comment section. Panther fans that are upset, please don't kill me in the comment section. I mean, you can. I mean, you can. The comment section is there for a reason. But I hope that my explanation is at least something that makes it easier to understand as to why I did it. And it's not because I'm pounding the table for Will Levis to be a top 8 pick in the draft. I did have CJ Stroud staying on the quarterbacks, going number 5 to the Colts. I think that's pretty much locked in, that whoever quarterback 2 is to the Colts is going to be who they take with this pick, unless someone finds a way to leapfrog them for it. The 3 edge rushers, Anderson, Murphy, and Wilson. It's hard to put anyone else in those spots, really. And I got Keely Ringo going number 4 and Jalen Carter going number 2, which really kind of has that domino effect with these other picks like Murphy, Wilson, and you'll see as we get to the next set of picks as well. The domino effect plays a big role with the Bears and the Cardinals making those 2 picks in particular, because you got a team like Atlanta, Detroit, and Seattle who are sort of basing who they draft off of what happens with those 2 other picks. You know, Seattle's sort of like, okay, we'll take either Carter or Anderson, whichever one they don't take. I think Atlanta's sort of in the scenario. It's like we'll take Ringo or Murphy, whichever one they don't take, and then Detroit's sort of like whoever of these three guys, whoever's still there is the one we'll take. We're good with anyone as long as it's one of those two positions. So I think that sort of is going to come into play, and there's not going to anticipate there being a lot of movement within the top 10 in terms of trades. Again, I think the Jets are an outside shot to move up to get one of these quarterbacks. At least that's the way it's looking like is going to work out. But I'm not doing trades yet in this series, so this is how it played out for the top 8. Moving on to the next ones, I got Christian Gonzalez going to the Raiders, locking down a corner. It helps out with the front four problems that they've been having. And I got Brian Breezy going to the Eagles. I think that kind of like what I was saying with the Bears and the Seahawks, I could see the Eagles sort of sitting in this same scenario with the Raiders if this is how the draft order would work out. Because I think the Eagles, with this pick, they sort of view it as a free pick almost. So it's like we're either going to add a corner to add to that rotation that's getting a little older, or we're going to add someone on the defensive line to add to that rotation that's getting a little bit older so we can have a smoother transition out of it. And I think that Breezy is a different type of player than Jordan Davis, so I think that he'd work out a lot more as being like that 3 technique, while Jordan Davis would take on the 1 nose tackle type of a role, but still have 2 guys who could play all 3 downs. And then Christian Gonzalez to the Raiders. They don't really have cornerbacks on that team, so they really need to start building that part of their defense up. That secondary is certainly struggling for sure in terms of just having talent to go around, enough talent to go around to have a healthy group where you don't have guys who can get picked on so easily. With Brandon Cook seemingly on the way out, I think that taking Quentin Johnson for the Texans makes a lot of sense. Got a new quarterback, get him a new number 1 weapon, grow them together. I got Peter Skoronski again. I've been playing around with him being a guard, drafted as a guard, which is why I got Seattle sniping him. Helping continue to build in the trenches. Just an old school way of building a team. I think they did a great job getting the 2 bookend tackles, Cross and Abraham Lucas, and now work your way now to the inside of the offensive line and keep it young, keep it with a high upside. And Skoronski, again, if you get an injury at one of those tackle spots, he can slide in there for a couple games as a replacement. And then Paris Johnson going to the Titans. They're desperate for offensive line help, especially with Taylor Lewan pretty much already saying he's out of that team. So you got to replace him at the very least. Then Jordan Addison going to the Patriots. They got a couple guys that at the receiver position that are expiring contracts and can be cap casualties as well. I think they needed somebody who can come in and be a number 1, be a separator for Mac Jones. Jordan Addison is going to be a great option for them. And then here are the Jets. Broderick Jones, tackle, Georgia, filling the other need on their offense that isn't the quarterback position, just based on how the draft fell. And then Joey Porter falls right into the laps of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is really going to help out that secondary where it's kind of butt cheeks. It is kind of butt cheeks over there. I got the Packers going Michael Mayer. I think that's pretty straightforward. That's one of those picks I think at this point you can sort of pencil that one in as an obvious place for Mayer to go, and teams will probably be looking to trade up to get ahead of the Packers if they've sort of locked in on him. And I got Cam Smith going to the Lions, just the best corner on the board, adding to that secondary that they need. I got Osiris Torrance, the guard, going to Jacksonville, giving something to the offense. With Calvin Ridley coming out to that team, you're hoping that he gets cleared to play. You figured out that running back position with ETN. It seems like your quarterback's worked out. Maybe you bring back Evan Ingram, who seems to be a real fit in that offense. So just fill out the one spot on the offensive line that seems to be the only weak spot you got left, which is the left guard position. I think that getting an absolute beast in there is only going to yield good things, especially with Trevor Lawrence looking like he's going to be every bit the franchise quarterback that you were hoping he is. Then you got Jared Verse going to the Bucks. The guy gets something of power on that defense. They missed out on the top corners, so maybe they look at that in the second round. I think they're also a team that's primed to be a trade down spot to just acquire more picks so they can fill out some of these spots that are going to be empty due to the salary cap situation there. I got DeJuan Jones going to Washington. Just a big boy. It's just helping out their offensive line. And with Brian Robinson really emerging as a great running back, you want to have a guy like DeJuan Jones who's like a big mauler and who's gonna open up some of those holes, kick out some of those ends, help double teams on those 3 techniques, get up to those linebackers, and just really help out that overall protection for the running game and the passing game. Dolphins, what a shame. My New York Giants, I got them taking Trenton Simpson here. Just like the best defensive player on the board. They don't really have linebackers. Jalen Smith has moments, but other than that, I think adding him to the group, you don't really know what Darian Beavers is going to be when he comes back from that injury. It's a big injury to come back from. Micah McFadden has been okay, but he still looked like a rookie. And I think just Trenton Simpson, who people were talking about being a good fit for the Baltimore defense. Well, the Giants brought over Baltimore's defensive coordinator, so you can have Simpson playing in that role. Again, sort of a positionless defense. He can play really across that entire 8-man box, 7-man box. And I got Jalen Hyatt going to the Chargers, adding him to that wide receiver room, getting another weapon for Justin Herbert. I know Josh Palmer, shout out to Brampton, has been okay, and Guyton got hurt, but I just think the upside on Jalen Hyatt is too much to pass up. He's really earned the opportunity to be a first-round pick, and his work in the slot, I think, will provide a great level of variety for that offense with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams as well, and then Austin Eckler out of the backfield. And then 2 picks I've sort of had locked in the last couple weeks, which is JSN to the Ravens and Bijan Robinson to the Broncos. I think if I was Denver, I would trade down, certainly. I think it makes the most sense for them to do that. Maybe trade with a team that would be looking to get Bijan Robinson. Maybe like Arizona trying to move up to get him. I think that would be a good example, and get maybe another 3rd-round pick in the process of doing so, and then pick a little bit late, pick really early in the 2nd round, and then have those 3 third-round picks, because they need picks. They need to add guys, because that Russell Wilson trade is killing them. Clark Phillips to the Cowboys. I think he'd be a good little option in there with them losing a couple of their guys in the secondary to free agency, it looks like. Brian Branch going to the Bengals. This is, in theory, this is them losing Jesse Bates. So they get Branch in the process. And then Dax Hill, who I know is a safety, but he's also a corner as well. I think he can come up. He can play some nickel, and he can play some dime, play some money backer. And then Brian Branch can be sort of that center field in cover 3 situations. Foskey and Andre Carter, the edge rushers, going to Kansas City and Minnesota. I really like giving both of those teams edge rushers. Those are the 2 best on the board for me. Antonio Johnson just works with Buffalo, I feel. It just makes all the sense in the world for him to end up there. Sort of like JSN with Baltimore and Michael Mayer with Green Bay. I feel like Antonio Johnson with Buffalo makes so much sense. And then I got Jalen Jones coming up, sneaking into the 1st round with the Eagles. They missed a corner with their 1st pick, so the next pick adds to the cornerback room that is aging out and is very expensive in the process as well. Moving on to the next round, B.J. Ochilari going to Houston, getting at that edge rusher. Darnell Wright adding to the offensive line in Pittsburgh. Drew Sanders, linebacker for Seattle. This is going to help them in two fronts. Give them a number 2 linebacker next to Jordan Brooks that is quality. And Drew Sanders is a great blitzer as well. So you can send him after the quarterback as more of a B-gap blitzer. With now you would have Will Anderson, Boyamafe, Uchenna Nwosu as a good rotation there on the edges. So it'll allow Drew Sanders maybe a lot more room to do what he does quite well. Then I got Nolan Smith going to the Cardinals. They took corner with the first pick, so the next one here is an edge rusher. Josh Downs going to the Colts. This is going to be your third receiver with Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman. You hope that Josh Downs is a better than what Paris Campbell's given you over the years. Then I got Jalen Duncan going to the Atlanta Falcons, which, I've heard Falcons fans in a couple of the comment sections leading up to this that they need offensive line help. And right now, Chris Lidstrom as a guard is like the highest graded guard in the NFL. So I figured why not give a tackle that can play on the right side. Even though McGarry's played better, it might be somebody you can move on from. Jake Matthews is getting older as well. Then you add Anton Harrison to the Rams. They need the offensive line help for sure. Their offensive line is not great. They really miss Andrew Whitworth at that left tackle position. And then Carolina got him adding an edge rusher, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, play opposite of Brian Burns. And it moves Yetur Gross-Matos into more of like a 5-tech early down defensive end. And here are the Raiders going with Gervin Dexter. Sort of the same thing with the Eagles when they're with the last pick of the first round. They went corner, so now they grab an interior defensive lineman to help them out. Got Anthony Richardson here falling to the Saints. I think he's somebody who, kind of like Bijan Robinson, will have somebody maybe trade up for him into the first round. Because I think him on a 5-year contract does look a lot nicer than on a 4-year contract, just based upon what his current state is and what they can project for him and how long it's going to take for him to truly be ready. He does need a lot of polishing, it seems. Then I got Mozzie Smith going to the Browns. Emmanuel Forbes falls to the Seahawks. I know they're like, they don't take corners early. Well, when you got a guy like Emmanuel Forbes sitting right there, how do you pass up on him? Like, who else could you pick in this scenario to fill what type of a need would you feel better about than getting Emmanuel Forbes to come in, play opposite Tariq Woolen with Kobe Bryant as the nickel? I think that it's just the upside is too good for Seattle to pass up. I got Darnell Washington, the tight end, going to the Titans. Kills two birds. Can be there on early downs to block as just a giant body, 270 pounds, and then be a giant threat in the red zone in the passing game as well. Just the upside for him as a receiver can't be ignored. Then I got Devin Witherspoon going to the Patriots. This will help out their cornerback room, even though Jack Jones and Marcus Jones have definitely overachieved, especially Jack Jones. The Jets, Noah Sewell, finally getting another linebacker in there that's not C.J. Mosley. Hopefully get something there where Saleh can feel like he has somewhat close to a Fred Warner, Drake Greenlaw type of a thing where he saw a lot of success in San Francisco. And I got Siaki Ika, big space-eating nose tackle for the Steelers. Eat up some double teams, free up their edge rushers for more success. Here at the Packers going with Jordan Battle. This will be the Adrian Amos replacement. They got the Lions going with Kalijah Cansey, the interior defensive lineman at Pittsburgh. This would be somebody you would use to replace Michael Brockers, who I know has had some injuries and stuff, but he's also going to very likely be a cap casualty. It would free up $10 million in cap space by cutting him. And that's a lot of cap space to eat up for a veteran who's starting to get some injury problems. So you get Cansey, you can come and slide right into that role. Dalton Kincaid, tight end, going to the Jags. I know I brought up with the Torrance pick that very possible they bring back Evan Ingram, but Dalton Kincaid more of a traditional tight end than Evan Ingram is. So you can get maybe some more early down work, more likely to get early down work out of Kincaid than you are out of Ingram, who can't block at all. Garrett Williams, corner. This is Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy-Bunting on their way out. I put Hendon Hooker coming into Washington. Now, his injury obviously destroyed his possibilities of being a first round pick, which he was starting to get that buzz. He was starting to get that QB4 buzz, perhaps QB3, depending on how he worked out. But now with the injury, but he is, the one thing that he had in his advantage was that he was pro ready. One of the most pro ready guys that there was. His age came into effect there as well. So I would think that a team like Washington, who's sort of been searching for their quarterback. I mean, it looked like Heineke was playing well, and he just got benched for Carson Wentz. And when you get benched for Carson Wentz, the bloom is kind of off the rose at that point. So now you got Sam Howell, who you can maybe give him a try. But if he doesn't work out, maybe you use this pick and you've stolen a franchise quarterback for the next 7 or 8 years. It's very possible. Very possible. If he heals from the injury on time, maybe, Sam Howell gets the first half of the season. If Sam Howell does great, well, it's the 53rd pick in the draft. It's not the worst thing that could ever happen. You got Sam Howell in the 5th round. Boom, you just stole a franchise quarterback. But if Sam Howell doesn't work out, then maybe Hooker is ready to go by mid-season next year, and you can slide him in and give him an opportunity to show if he's a franchise quarterback or not. And if you end up just completely sucking, you end up with a bottom 5 team, which I don't think is possible just with the overall talent they have. But if it is, then you got quarterbacks next year where you can make a move perhaps to go and get one. And then, a 2nd and a 5th, swinging out a quarterback. It's kind of an argument I've made in the past for the Panthers taking Hooker in with their late 2nd round pick in previous ones. Sort of Hooker and Corral, and if whatever franchise quarterback comes out of that, you come out ahead, because who wouldn't give up a 2nd and a 3rd round pick to get a franchise quarterback? I think the same argument can be made for Washington here. Who wouldn't give up a 2nd and a 5th round pick to get one franchise quarterback? John Michael Schmidt's the center going to Miami. This allows Connor Williams, who's done great as a center, to go to guard, and then Schmitz can play center, and you got a great improvement. And you've improved now 2 offensive line positions with one move. You got Rashee Rice going to the Giants. This is their outside receiver they desperately need. Matthew Bergeron going to the Chargers. This is the right tackle of the future, playing next to Zion Johnson, with Rashawn Slater coming back next year, hopefully nice and healthy and helping keep Justin Herbert upright. Again, 2 picks here in this draft for the Chargers, both to the benefit of Justin Herbert. Now here's some picks that I've played around with for the first time. We got the Bears going with Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back out of Alabama. You dump David Montgomery, you mix in a guy like Gibbs, a more dynamic weapon on that 3rd down for Justin Fields. You don't want to have to pay running backs, especially in an offense when you got a quarterback who can run the way he does. That threat alone does open up more opportunities for running backs. So I kind of like the idea of Jahmyr Gibbs going to the Bears and him an outside the box weapon choice for Justin Fields rather than getting a receiver. Because now you got Mooney, you got Claypool, you got Velus Jones, and now you can mix in Gibbs with Herbert, and you got a nice little group there. Without having to pay, like I said, David Montgomery. And I got Zay Flowers going to the Panthers. Mix him in with Terrace Marshall and DJ Moore. Rather than going running back in this scenario, you throw in a guy who can get the ball out of a quarterback's hands fast and get a lot of that run after the catch. Andrew Voorhees, guard. This is the left guard position. Moving forward, with Tyler Smith going to the left tackle, likely full-time next year, and Tyron Smith on the way out. DJ Turner going to Cincinnati, again, continuing to build that depth in the secondary with the assumption that you're going to lose Jesse Bates, you're going to lose Eli Apple. Chidobe Awuzie's contract is going to be coming up soon, as is Mike Hilton's contract, where you want to have people in place there like Cam Taylor-Britt, now DJ Turner, to replace those guys rather than having to break the bank to sign them, maybe using that money somewhere else. Cedric Tillman to the Chiefs, getting a bigger bodied wide receiver in there. Luke Weipler, interior offensive lineman. I think he would play the guard position. That would be opened up by cutting Big V, Haloti Vaitai. Is that his name? Not Haloti Vaitai. Is it Haloti Vaitai? But whatever. Whatever that guy's name is. The one that they completely overpaid in the previous regime. This helps complete your offensive line, and then Ragnow picks up an injury. Weipler can slide right in there to center, and you won't really have to worry about losing a whole lot. You can get a depth interior lineman that can play the guard position in the event that happens. Henry To'oTo'o, linebacker, going to Buffalo with a couple of their linebackers seemingly on the way out as well. This is how you avoid having to pay them. Not paying linebackers and not paying running backs, I think, is going to be a big theme for the NFL. And then I got Zach Harrison, edge rusher, going to the Eagles. Mix him in there. Same sort of thought process with the picks of Jalen Jones and Brian Breezy. Adding another guy onto that defense at positions where you got some aging veterans, maybe some underperforming guys who could cut bait with and still maintain a healthy depth at these key positions on the defense. And that's it. There it is. It's all over. Thank you for making it this far. Even if you just kind of skip through the chapters, I still appreciate you guys viewing it, looking at it, and of course leaving your comments in the comment section about what your thoughts are about it. And make sure, even if your thoughts are negative, even if you didn't like what I did for your team, hit the like and the subscribe button. Helps me out, does me a big solid, does me a favor, makes all the work I put into putting them together worth it. So thanks for coming, and I will see you guys next week with a different type of mock draft maybe. We'll see what happens. See you guys then.